I want to show you a Active Directory diagram and kind of take you through the picture so that you can see visually what's going on conceptually with Active Directory, so that you can then apply that to the screen later as we start to do all these administrative tasks and things. So notice the two key words here, conceptually and visually. Well, let's start off. When we first install a server, so we get a new box, we install it in the server room, we load Windows Server 2008 on it, and then we're going to add a server row, which we'll talk about that later. But we're actually going to install or make this now an Active Directory domain controller. And what that does is, just like you see here, and you will always see Active Directory domains drawn on paper and on charts as a triangle. But what this thing says is, okay, I am creating a security fence around this computer that is going to be my Active Directory domain. Then I can add other computers and have them join the domain, and now both of these computers are in the security fence, or inside this security fence that is that Active Directory domain. And this domain will have a name, and it will be a DNS type name like mark.com or vtc.com or that sort of thing. Then within that domain we can have users, and then users and computers can join the domain. So we can create users in our domain. We can join their computers to the domain, and they're participating. And then within the domain we can subdivide it for administrative reasons. And notice the red circle here. We have grouped these two servers together inside what's called an organizational unit. And then we will put all of our users. Now you're only seeing one computer here, but I want you to picture maybe 100, 200 users, but they're all created and maintained inside this one organizational unit. And then I can set up a different server in here that performs maybe file and print services or terminal services or whatever, and I can put it in its own organizational unit. Now these organizational units can be used for all kinds of, I'm basically grouping administrative features. And then I can apply group policy and security type settings and things on these organizational units. Then the part of Active Directory that gets to be a bit confusing for some people is that I can now set up a site. Now here's the real bottom line, and I'm going to take that back off just for a second. This is all the conceptual, abstract grouping of objects. This has nothing to do with the physical world. This is the way that we're going to organize things in the software, in the operating system, for administrative functionalities. When we add sites, this has to do with the underlying network that connects all these devices together. And generally, if I don't mention a site, if I don't create a site or change it, then my entire domain encompasses a site. But once I begin to separate these sites, what this means is that the underlying network connecting these guys, for whatever reason, needs to be separated from the network connecting to these servers. Now in the old days, this used to mean that these guys were connected by a high-speed reliable network, but to communicate to these guys went across a less reliable network. Sites have to do with the actual underlying physical network. So there you have a pretty good picture of an Active Directory domain that has been subdivided by organizational units. I can have as many organizational units as I would like, and I can have as many objects within each organizational unit as I would like. And we will come back and revisit this when we talk about group policy later. Now let's go another step. You will also hear about Active Directory. You'll hear about an Active Directory tree. Well, I can have a domain here called vtc.com. Then I can have another domain called sales.vtc.com. Now, why would I want to have different domains? Well, I may want to have a different security context for these guys and either tighter or less security on these guys. And so by putting them in a different domain, I can take care of that different security requirements. Now, between these is a trust so that users in this domain can access resources in this domain and vice versa. And when you see these domains stacked vertically, more or less like this, or subdomains of domains, these two are subdomains of this one on the top. That's called a tree. Now, at this point it is also a forest. But technically a forest is a collection of trees, so we could have another tree with a different DNS namespace, and we could connect those two trees at the root, and then we would have a forest. Now, let's go back just a minute. That'll get confusing on you, but if you read the various documentations and stuff out there, that's basically a tree is a collection of domains that are in a subdomain relationship to each other, and then that also includes all of your collected domains become the forest. And it's easier to think of a forest when you have more than one tree. Let's go back to this guy right here. When we first installed our first server, we created a new domain and a new forest. Then when we created or installed the second server, we simply joined that existing domain. And so in this instance, this server would have created this domain, and then when we installed this server, we said we want it to have a different domain, and it created this domain. So I just wanted to get you a visual on this so that you can kind of see how this is organized and set up. And you need to understand this before you go test. And now everything that we do from here on will build within this context right here of Active Directory and what this diagram is showing you.